Oh my god.
Ah, word. Okay, cool.
All right.
Word. So, yeah, bro. What's up, everybody? This Caleb 777. I'm here with my guy. Now, is it eluzai? How do you pronounce your name?
Okay. It's my name's eluzai.
Ah,
I'm a rapper, producer, and a creator out of Pennsylvania. Born and raised Philadelphia. Now just a little out on the outskirts now. There's only out of all the people that have ever tried to say my name, I think only one person ever got it correct the first time. I think that was Derek. Other than that, I'm pretty sure everyone else I'm pretty sure everyone else says like
just
eluzai,
yeah.
eluzai. It's
Elu- just
it's
like butcher it entirely.
the funny with the funny thing about it is that I'm pretty sure I'm actually saying my name wrong.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, that's so
yeah,
funny.
because I'm pretty sure it is like eluzai or like
Yeah.
eluzai, but like I just
Word.
um I'll get into the whole name thing later, but just kind of touching actually, we can talk about that because I feel like the previous discussion that we're having kind of goes into more
Yeah.
more into like influences and stuff. So yeah,
Word, bro.
Eluzai, fun. It's a funny name. Um, so I started rapping in like ninth, 10th grade. Prior to that, I was like creating music, still trying to learn it. I think we can kind of date that back to '09 to 10. Um, and in like the 10th grade, I hadn't really been like Christian. I had been Christian by like name and because family and all that. And I went to a very strict Baptist school for 4 years. Uh,
Mm.
so all of my high school. And in 10th grade, they decided to put us in a class about the revelation, like
Mm.
revelation. Now
Wow.
if you are on the fence about where your faith is, that is kind of like a very much so blunt way to figure out what side you're on. And after like being in that class for like a week or two, I was like, I'm dedicated to Christ. I don't want to see this. So I
Word.
I remember the exact the day was is like I'm in the class. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna remember. This is the day I was saved, where I was dedicated to Christ. I ripped off a piece of cardboard off of my notebook and I wrote the date down. It's like this was the day. This was the day we're changing it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And then I started shortly after that. I was encouraged by people at a church I was attending, like, just like give it all for God. And there was a whole bunch of events that coincided. Um, with my boy Shad introducing me to like Lecrae and Beautiful Eulogy and all of that. My love for like hip hop just really like blowing up more and more around this time. And at that
Mm.
moment, I was like, I really feel like I want to like I want to do like a form of like music that elevates God or is like a ministry or something like
Mm.
that. And so that's how
Mm.
I became like a rapper, Christian rapper with Christian themes, however you want to kind of
Word.
I don't I'm not I don't hate any of those titles. Any of those is fine. Um, uh,
Word.
but at that time I was part of uh, a fan group for Childish Gambino at the time. So I didn't feel like I could use my name. My name's Ludwig. And if you know anything about
Ah.
Gambino, his in-house producer, who is also pretty big, is also a white gentleman with long hair and a beard, and his name is Ludwig. So
Wow.
I
Okay.
I I remember getting roasted in the Facebook like chats. It's just like, you think you could
Uh,
share your beat like commissions in here because your name's also Ludwig? I'm like, dude, I'm like 16. But so I decided to go online and in my Bible thumper phase, reading nothing like
mm.
KJV and stuff like that, I was like, I gotta I read KJV for so long.
The
We can talk about that.
KJV. Why did it?
KJV.
Because because like the Bible thumper to like reading KJV pipeline is so real, and like people people don't even like understand. Like it was this dude years ago, like when I first got saved, and his name was like Demaris, and you
Mhm.
could just tell like Puh had absolutely like no love in his heart, bro. And all day, every day, he'd just be on Twitter going stupid about how like only the KJV version of the
Only the
Bible is like,
KJV. Oh my
huh?
gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like he,
only that one works. Only this is like
yeah,
the one that's translated directly from it, even though
yeah,
the amplified version did the same thing like 100
bro.
years ago in the 1900s. Not saying
Bro,
that.
like
Um,
he would literally be on that, and like I remember it was so funny because that was like in 2016, and then
mhm,
in
mhm.
2018, I jumped back on Twitter, and he was still on the same like thing. And I remember messaging him, and I was like, "Bro, do you understand? It's been 2 years. Like, are you like a robot? Like, what's wrong with you, bro?"
It's the diss track that will never stop. Um,
Man, thanks.
but
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 go
kind
ahead,
of
yeah.
but with the yeah, so Bible Thumper days, KJV. So I wanted to find like a a very religious sounding name or something to give you an idea. Like I don't know why, but I wasn't like keeping up with a lot of the current music, like Christian music, strangely enough. I was this is gonna date me a little bit, but I was listening to like cross movement and stuff like that back in the day.
Dang.
That
Word, word.
and that goes this is going far back. I was listening to like Lecrae's early discography
That's deep.
and
Like,
stuff
dang.
like that. Be
Yeah.
Real and Rebel. Um,
Rebel, yeah.
and this wasn't like, and this I wasn't listening to this in like '08 or like '05. I was listening to this in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
I was listening to Lamp Mode, Shy Lynn, Stephen the Levite. So
Dang.
this
Yeah.
is yeah, this is very much so the Calvinistic Bible thumper era. And
Oh my God, that's so funny.
so I decided to find a really cool name, and I thought it has to have a Z in it, and it has to sound cool. So
Yeah.
I went on. I found the Hebrew name eluzai, however you want to say it. It's eluzai to me,
Eluzai, word.
which is Hebrew for God is my strength, and I thought that that was really cool. And it's actually
Man.
and looking back at it now, for all the times I kind of pondered the concept of changing my name, it's actually a really good reminder of like where I came from and what God is to me. And I think it
Mm.
kind of orchestrated itself to kind of be that thing that kind of like almost like a mantra where it's like, hey, you know, that kind of just remind you and inspire you. It's like God is your strength. Let that be it, you know.
Yes,
Um,
sir. Wow.
and that wasn't and I didn't have like a previous uh stage name or anything before that. I know you were asking about that in the question.
Nah, I was
There
just gonna say that. Like, dude, like, yeah, that's well, hey, bro, that's amazing.
yeah, though I do um I will say this, it is kind of interesting to see that that's not like an uncommon theme in specifically in the CHH space. Um and
Yeah,
I think it typically works out for the better, you know. I think Andy Mineo should be named Andy Mineo.
yeah.
I
Well, yeah.
instead, you know, Sea Light.
Yeah,
No,
that. Well,
hate,
yeah. I was
no
gonna
hate,
say like,
all love, but you know, it's like I think like that's a tasteful change. That's a tasteful
yeah,
change.
yeah. Like it's, nah. It is cool though. Like, with you, like with your name, Eluzai, I think it's refreshing because, uh, I don't really hear of a lot of I don't really hear or see like a lot of
Mhm.
CHH artists with like cool names because it's all just like mostly it's just like their names.
Yeah, it wasn't like that for the longest time. If you were really paying attention in like the 2000s, maybe even before that, like there was a lot of people that felt that they really had to have biblical names, and I feel like that's why people did do like name changes. That's why Andy changed. That's why Derek Minor changed his name. I think Sho Baraka changed his name. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm.
because they were all like they felt the need to be heavily religious in their
Yeah,
names. And certain people, I feel like I still think Stephen the Levite. I think that's a great name and stuff like
that's a
that.
dope name. Yeah,
But
that's
you
a
know,
dope
it's
name.
there was a sense of um maybe like almost like kayfabe, if you're any familiar with like WWE,
Word. Yeah,
where
totally.
it's for anyone that's listening, a sense of like needing to perform,
Yeah.
which I feel like that may people might find a bit convicting or just like not sincere. So they kind of had to
Mm,
pull away from that. So for
very
certain
like
people, it would work.
yeah.
For certain
Yeah.
people, it would work, but others not so much. But with I think eluzai matured very well name wise.
Man, like
Um,
it, cause and it just like sounds like dope. Like it, like whenever I hear like Levi, it just sounds like it's like a sword being like unleashed from like the sheath. Like like it's just hard. Like yo, like,
very much so. Um, a good reminder of not just the biblical aspect, but the fact that a lot of the music that I was listening to was um very underground, which kind of brings us to the conversation that we were having before this
mm,
of music influences, because you
word.
and I were talking about how you would done like stuff in the underground, and you weren't like too, not say too familiar, but like too attached to like the CHH space in like particular. You kind of like grew up on that space ghost perp and stuff like that.
And
Um
bones. Yeah. Like
and stuff like that.
yeah, like I didn't grow up
Mhm.
really listening to much Christian hip hop, and like I said, like I didn't even know it was a thing until like my early 20s, because I had
Mhm.
came up on like Bones and uh Kamiyata, and you know what I'm saying, just like that. So when I started putting out music on my own, yeah, like that's where I found out. But that was more of like not Clyde and like
Mhm.
really underground CHH, which was
Yeah.
dope. Like I was like, dang, like because I don't even know if you know, like not Clyde, his sound before was like way more rough.
Yeah.
Like he has an album called like Mayhall like XX 39, and it sounds like something that like Uzi would have like on his laptop, like
Yeah.
just super unmixed. But it was dope, and it was like Jesus. And
Mhm.
I was like, yo, like this is really crazy. Like I didn't even like I didn't even know this. And at the time I was like, that's when I first I was listening to KB. Like he
Yeah.
has these two albums, like I think it's called like Today, like Tomorrow We Live, or maybe it's Tomorrow. No, or maybe it's Tomorrow We Rebel, or like Today We Live. Like those two albums are like amazing.
Mhm.
I don't really, I'm not really much of a fan of his music now, but I will say it was definitely a time. It definitely was a time where I was listening to KB, and yeah, bro.
Yeah. I mean, so with kind of reeling it back a little bit, I myself wasn't also raised on like CHH. Kind of getting into some background. I'm actually a first generation American. At least I think I am. I was born here, but my parents are actually refugees from the Berlin Wall back in the day. So
Ah,
Slavic refugees. So
wow.
what I grew up on, uh, if it were just led to my parents, I'm not gonna lie. I would be a lost cause. I would be a lost cause in this industry because I grew up on the disco that they listened to, the Russian,
Really?
the Russian, uh, the Russian folk music, and like rock that they listened to, and then
Wow.
K-Love and classical.
Wow.
Those were the things.
Did they ever listen to like cuz you mentioned like Russian. Did they listen to like obscure 70s like Russian
Oh, I
uh
assure you.
like post what is it No,
like
not post, but like prog rock. Because that's crazy. I don't know if you've ever listened to it. I love stuff
post
like that.
punk, prog rock. My mom actually back in the day used to get scolded by my granddad because she used to listen to like these like rock operas, these like underground rock operas and
Yo,
stuff like that. And
that's crazy.
it's pretty neat. To the point where I think, not to deviate too much, but
No,
like
you good.
if
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about music that I feel like is so untapped, there is a
bro.
whole slew of like
Yeah.
Russian, Ukrainian music that I think when people realize how much of a gold mine that is for sampling or for working,
No,
it's
dude,
gonna
let's
go
do
insane.
it. Like, no, we can definitely get into that, bro, because
Well,
uh no, for real, like I'm super excited that you said that because yeah, that can bleed into uh like more of the discussion. But bro, that's amazing because that's basically all I listen to. Like it's like nowadays, like I listen to like bro, sometimes I don't even listen to rap. Like
mhm.
I'm like a sample head. So what I'll do is like I have folders completely dedicated to just like full albums. So
Mhm.
I'll just go on because I have YouTube Premium. So what I'll do is like I'll just go on YouTube and I'll just binge
Yeah.
like the oldest, like most vintage, rare Ukrainian like prog rock.
Mhm.
It's the best. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I myself, so like growing up, like I didn't exclusively seek those genres that my parents sought. Um,
Word, word.
actually, in terms of growing up, if it wasn't like video game music or music that I ended up playing for orchestra when I was a cellist, or piano recitals for when I
Yo,
played piano.
he was a
Um,
cellist.
I
That's
was a
amazing.
cellist. So I was a cellist for 3 years, and I was a pianist for 7. This actually, and those were things
Wow.
that I wanted to start that I ended up not liking going deeper into it, that my parents kinda encouraged me to. But if it weren't for
Mm,
that, I wouldn't have actually had a good foundation getting into music production, which I'm
yeah,
very grateful for them to have, like, invested in that because, piano
yeah.
lessons are not cheap, and, it's just them upkeeping that was such a blessing. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro. Yeah, like
yeah.
it's amazing how like like when we younger and like when we jits, like our parents kind of like make us do stuff that
Mhm.
at the time we're like why the hell am I even doing this? But then it's like with like when you get older, you're like, yo, like it was a reason for it.
You are very ungrateful when you're younger, and then when God kind of like shows the entire spectrum of like all the events going on, and you're just like, ah, dang, I was a butthole, wasn't I? And
Word.
God's like, oh, no, I still love you, and it's like, ah, man, but
Man.
but music wise, so like that classical like stuff my parents listened to, whatever, that's what I was kind of like introduced to it. But thankfully my brother at the time, who was, he's a couple years my elder, so he was on the whole like, I'm not gonna say he was using LimeWire, but he was definitely like finding like crazy stuff back in the day, and like kind of like, and I was kind of echoing like stuff that I was hearing. And,
Yeah,
he had a very specific taste in music.
it was
So
Frostwire. To be
yeah,
honest, it
yeah,
was
yeah, 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 yeah,
Frostwire.
yeah, yeah. But no, he had a very specific taste in music. My brother was very big into, like, different, like, rock genres and artists. He and I would talk about, like, he would, like, talk about Nas and stuff back in the day.
Mm,
And,
mm.
it was through him kind of growing up and, like, through my middle school years and through my high school years, very specifically, that he would introduce me to genres that I would listen to prior to getting introduced into, like, Christian hip hop. So we're talking, rock stuff, like everything that's basic, from, like, Led Zeppelin down to, like, Pink Floyd. I love Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
And
dude.
and
Yeah.
then, he would put me onto, like, like, hip hop, like, Wu-Tang. I discovered Nas at the time. Like,
Word.
he had a G-Funk CD that we would just play on a repeat. Um,
Yes.
and then, like, he was also very much so into, like, darker and like crazier underground stuff. So when Death Grips first came out with like ex-military,
Oh my
or
gosh.
when Mac DeMarco was first coming out with like the, you know, like 2 and Salad Days and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not that's not as dark, but like Space Ghost Perp and
Yeah.
all that jazz. Like he Suicide Boys at the time. Some of these things I picked up more than others, obviously. Like I did not, when I first heard Suicide Boys, I did not like them. I did not like
Oh,
them.
dude,
Mhm.
it's hard because it's like the music itself, it's so good, but I
Mm.
just even back then, bro, like
Mm.
I was like it's so dark. Oh
Oh,
God.
oh, do you want to know the funny thing about that, Caleb?
Yeah, go ahead.
I still don't like Suicide Boys.
Me neither.
A lot of people comment thinking I'm ripping off Suicide Boys. And granted, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have my voice, the way that I mix this from certain things that I have heard from them. It does sound similar. Yes, I I'm not really influenced by them much. I will go on
Wow.
record and saying that I'm probably more
Wow.
influenced by people like Space Ghost Perp or Paul Wall more
Oh
than
wow.
Suicide Boys, to be
Dude,
frankly honest with you.
that's so that's like literally like so like that's such an oxymoron and like so opposite of what, because I thought you was gonna be like, yeah, bro, like I was just listening to Mad Suicide Boys when I was making Zoo. Like that's so it's so funny.
If
It's kind of
like
funny.
I try not to make a habit out of listening to a lot of underground Memphis. Now, not for the sake that I think it's I think that I'm better than it
I
or
understand.
or whatever, but there's just themes in it that
It's dark,
especially
bro.
yeah, because it, you know, also like birthing into stuff like horrorcore and stuff like
It's
that.
It's dark.
That
No, I feel the same way, bro. Like
yeah.
for me, when I listen, cause I listen to a lot of Perp, but it's the beats though. Like I'll
Mhm,
just listen to his instrumental stuff. I really won't listen to his like songs
mhm,
because it's like I don't want to hear that, bro. I don't want to hear that, and it's dark. And then you talk about horrorcore. That's like witchcraft.
mhm,
Like
yeah,
that's like real dark, demonic, actual activity, lyrical content,
yeah.
and I don't need that. I don't desire that in my spirit. I don't know. Like that's just no.
Yeah. Though I will say this, so the point I was getting across is that
Yeah.
if we were to have like a tier list, and I'm not trying to substantiate anyone's greatness by any means, but from my personal experience, Suicide Boys would be lower than, you know, people like Gangsta Pat, you know, Three
Yeah.
Six Mafia, stuff like that. Because you know, it's even though I was not getting deep into their like discographies. I was more so just like taken aback from what they were doing as opposed to Suicide Boys, which I felt was with the culture of Suicide Boys. We can there's a whole like kind of just deep dive in terms of just how they came across, but I feel like one of the biggest things from them that kind of spawned that was there was an era of underground music, especially like on SoundCloud, where you would run to people like Blade and stuff like that, where it would be people that wanted to make alternative music, um, but didn't want to fall into one of the big prerequisites, and it was predominantly a lot of folks that, you know, maybe were suburban white kids or
Yeah.
or like people that were like really into like a gangster rap or like, you know, 3 6, but they knew they couldn't like rap about certain the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
A lot of them really wasn't about that, but it
yeah,
was the sound. It was more of the sonics.
and there was like this culture of like, you know, folks that really just wanted to go down that certain route, and that was kind of where I split off because
Mm.
the one of the even though I had like those appreciations for this genre, I did not go down that route. I split off with other people at that time because my heart was still with Nujabes. And we can
Mm.
talk about Nujabes and Dilla because lo-fi hip hop was very much so a big part of my life.
Man, nah, and that's great because yeah, dude, I wanted to ask you about that too. Like,
Yeah.
when I go into your SoundCloud,
Mhm.
uh, you have way more just like lo-fi beats and just
Mhm.
kind of like lo-fi production. So I definitely wanted to know about that. Like, how did you? So that's kind of how you got started then.
Yeah, so in between kind of just still being a fledgling in terms of being inspired and getting really, really like just obedient with just my calling with God and just what I was supposed to be doing. Lo-fi hip hop was kind of the glue that came just in between all of that. So
Mm,
around around like the early tens is when I got introduced to like a lot of the anime that I loved, and as well as like Nujabes, Dilla, and just the slew of artists that were happening around the big boom with SoundCloud around that time.
mm.
If you if you were like anything, like deep into the to like SoundCloud lore, like you were listening to oh gosh, like Ginseng, like in the
Ginseng.
early was it Taku's like huge mixtape that
Yep.
busted onto the scene. There was the years between 2010 to 20 I'll say like 2016 were like this huge like underground era of lo-fi artists really just blowing up. And some I was even like some that I was surprised to even just kind of like rub shoulders with that would like divert into other directions too was insane.
Mm.
Um, so I loved lo-fi hip hop, and that was honestly like my biggest thing. And I
Wow.
when in high school when I had met my brothers Just Shad and Kid Travis, they were big encouragers, and it kind of helped me even form more and more taste and appreciation for more artists. So I'll kind of get into that. But they are also big encouragers of me, just like you should produce, you should really produce. What you're doing ain't bad. And so
No.
I kind of took like a lot of the influence I had of like video game samples, obscure samples, jazz and classical and stuff. I was sampling stuff that I would play from my recitals. Um
Yeah.
I
Wow.
would I would just start producing. Now, admittedly, I was trying to be very different, so it didn't always stick to the ball. But when it did, I felt like I was making progress, and I was just it was just a blast back in the day because I would get back home from high school. I would just sit at my rinky dinky gaming setup, open up
Uh,
FL Studio that I had bought. That
yes, sir.
I atoned for my pirating sins.
Hey,
I
word.
bought it. I bought it. Okay,
No,
don't at me. I got the
no, no,
box.
no, bro. No, hey, bro, hey, nah. I feel like it's so funny because that's such a zeitgeist. Like that's it. Well, how do I put it? Like that's so homogenous within like the FL like producer community where it's like, yeah, bro, I totally because bro, that was me too for like
Yeah,
4 years. I cracked it. It was just the crack. I was on the
you were
you
jamming
know
to
that
that key gen music.
no, what man, like, like it really. Did you say Keijin? That's crazy. Keijin,
We don't listen. Don't act like to anyone that's watching this, don't or listen to this. Don't act like you don't know what the key gen music is.
bro. He
If
said
you
Keijin music is.
yeah,
I'm,
what is it? What is it? R2R or whatever? No,
yo,
listen. If it wasn't that, it was Ableton. If it wasn't that, listen. Let me tell you something.
R2R is crazy,
Listen, at the some of y'all need to pay for your software. Some of y'all need to pay for Antares.
bro.
Some
You
of y'all need to
said
clear your
R
samples. I'm just saying.
sampling Keijin music is insane, bro. Like
But
that's so
no,
crazy.
but all jokes aside, bro. Yeah, no, I would just go home, um, like finally just like start jamming out, and like I'm not gonna lie, a lot of years scuff. I really I hold to the statement that I didn't start making enjoyable music until like 2017, 2018, and I'm like half a
Bro,
decade,
no, it's true, dude.
out from that. But
It's true.
I was I was starting to like kind of get my get a handle on things. And it was weird because I felt like I was putting too many cards on the table. Um so for context,
Yeah.
2015 or so, kind of graduated high school, and I was doing way too many things. I was trying to rap, I was trying to do lo-fi hip hop, and I was also trying to navigate college. And
Mm.
for a few years, I had finally been introduced to the Christian hip hop sphere, thanks to my buddy Jashad, and he put me onto Lecrae. Beautiful Eulogy. I had if we're everything from Reach Records to Humble Beast to even Lamp Mode. I was listening constantly, and not just to the to mainstream stuff, but I was even like frequently frequenting Rapzilla to find like new artists that were popping up, and this is where you would see like Zante, like Zante,
yep.
like start popping up. This is where like Tori Deshawn would come up a few years later.
Wow. Yep.
EP. But most importantly, I had finally tapped into people like Jay Givens, John Gives, Theory Has It, everyone involved with like like Ruslan, freaking oh my gosh, I'm bugging.
Like DJ DB405.
Yeah, but let's get like this is where like 9-5 was working with people. Curtis King.
Curtis, wow.
Yeah, shout out to Curtis King.
Hey, shout out Curtis King, bro. Shout out Curtis King.
Going. Shout out Theory. Shout out to Ruslan. Like, like, dude, we can. Anthony Cruz, bro. Like, oh my gosh, like, dude, the list goes on because there was so many. Like, if you were on SoundCloud, and like you were like subscribed to like the Rapzilla page, or sorry, you were following Rapzilla, or you were just kind of like frequenting. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't, but dang, there was some gosh dang gems out there, and I was so inspired. I like LVN Me by Jay Given, Soul Rebel by John Gives. Gosh dang, anything produced by Beautiful Eulogy.
Yes, sir. Beautiful you, bro. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. So wait. Before we get too ahead, I gotta ask you because I'm super curious about the. I think it's Fear. It's either Fear. I get Zoo and Fear No Evil mixed up all the time. What's the one where it's like
Did It For My Dogs?
No. Okay, that's Zoo, right? Did It For My Dogs is Zoo. I think it's Fear No Evil. The sample, like I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Like that sample. Where did you get that? What sample is
the vocals?
The
all right.
Like that's crazy.
All right. Preamble to all this. I sampled off of records for the longest time in college. I actually have a vinyl collection that is I have not tapped into 75% of these vinyls because people would keep giving them to me, or I would go like crate digging at like random spots across Philadelphia to Trenton, Princeton, Town, Bucks County, everywhere. I would just be crate digging, and I was loving it. And then a lot of suing started happening, and the real is not towards me, towards the industry. If you remember stuff with Blurred
DJ
Lines,
Drama, like
DJ Drama, Blurred Lines. We can talk. What is it? The Katy Perry
Katy Perry. Yep.
There was so much going on, and a lot of these were for just sounding similar.
Yeah.
So I had to make a very critical decision with myself. You can't keep doing this. so I had to kind of hang it up, and I actually even sold my record player for a while, and it was only like the last like year that we finally got a new one, so I could finally start going through my records again. Because the industry will get you. Doesn't matter where you think you are, if you think you're safe. And the reason why I bring this up is because people ask me what's the sample from, and there's only two places. There's only three places that a sample is going to come from. It's either I make it, Splice or Drum Broker?
Or TrackLib.
I don't even use TrackLib. I don't even.
You don't?
No, too expensive. Way too expensive.
Yeah, no word. No, that's fair. That's valid.
There's in this industry, not to say this is only done for money, but when I say that it is very easy as an artist to lose track of percentages and have them add up very quickly, it's something you can't like overlook. So yeah, it's one of those three things. Splice has literally been what I've been using for the past.
A gold mine like that, bro. Like Splice is literally God given, bro. Like I remember when I found out about Splice, like I literally was like, "Yo, like an angel just gave this to me."
It's funny though because like I love content create. Like shout out to like Soul Surplus. Shout out to
Wow.
Shout out to like
Sound Doctrine.
Sound Doctrine.
Bro,
but there's but I will say that nowadays, because the pot is getting bigger and bigger and people are trying to get a better grasp on the industry, even buying beat packs and sample packs, you have to check the metadata.
Oh, dude, the
licensing,
because the licensing is crazy, bro. Like and people don't read it, dude. Like people don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like people, because most people are just like probably just like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna make it, and it's not like it's gonna crack like 50,000 streams anyway. So like, who cares? But then when it does, they're like, yeah, they coming to collect. I gotta renew that lease.
And I understand. I fully understand. It is not easy. It is not easy out here. And I love Drum Broker. If Drum Broker is listening to this, shout out to you guys. You guys,
Drum Broker, bro.
We're on great terms, and I love what they're doing, and I love the stuff that they help put out with all the smaller folks that they're working with. I love MSXII.
Record. What is it? Record. It's not Drum Broker, but it's like record, like REKK. I forget, but I can never remember their names. But shout out to them.
Yeah.
Another good one is like like Sound Doctrine, or like
Sound Doctrine,
even if you go to the Splice Originals tab, they have crazy like just crazy packs. Like just users will just like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, man.
Shout out to Count. Yo, shout the frick out to Count. Yo, Count is a GOAT. I love Count so much. The point that I'm trying to make here. I love the fact that we can buy samples now. People are making stuff for samples. And in fact, I actually love it when people are trying to make complex samples more than 20 seconds long, where it kind of sounds like I am sampling like a raw song or whatever.
Yeah, and it's more than like a 8-bar loop.
But exactly. So but the whole thing, just kind of putting it to the grave, I don't like sampling things out of context, and I desperately try not to anymore. Like there was like even an era where I was trying to sort of like mess around with it, but there's too much red tape.
It's risky.
There's a very good story of the what is the guy, you ever hear that one song like We Don't Speak Americano? It was like a big meme song by what was it? Not Yolando. I think that was the original sampler. But basically they sampled what they thought to be like an old like, oh yeah, no one's gonna ever pay attention to this.
Bro.
You know?
Yeah.
And then the company actually got them, and I believe I want to say it was Sony that actually still owned the rights, and they took everything. They took everything from them.
It's tough because like, bro, even me, like, I'll be honest, because I don't know, and we can get into it like with Splice, because I love Splice, but sometimes it's like, and maybe this is just me and like me being like super OCD about like sonics, but sometimes I just feel like splice stuff it's too clean.
Yeah,
Like some of it is mixed like way too clean. Even though it has like some grit, it's still like it's just not like
it's streamlined.
yeah, it's like yeah,
It's
it's not dirty enough. Like I need like that raw grit. Like you can tell a difference between like a sample ripped from vinyl and a sample that's like you got from Splice. It's
it's
so easy.
it's very it's very interesting to see that like when you first were buying samples or you were kind of like buying these packs, it was from people that were trying to replicate a feeling or something from like sampling the actual songs, but just due to how far along that we've gone in this whole process, there is sort of like a tick box you kind of check off where it's sort of like you need this, 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 and this, and this.
Yeah.
I like it's like cymatic syndrome where you just kind of keep creating a very specific format over a large amount. And I'm not hating on cymatics. They kept it.
Hey,
Y'all keep it royalty free. I appreciate that, and I
shout
have
out
used
somebody.
cymatic stuff, but like it's
Man.
um there's when you create a sample, there has to be like a eureka moment, you know?
Mm.
You can't spell it out for if I'm playing a video game, I don't want you to give the plot twist immediately. I want to kind of figure out and navigate. And not sort of saying that they should trick me into feeling like I'm smart, but rather you should create something in a more organic like format where it doesn't sound like you're just creating an 8-bar loop that you know that can be like copied and pasted over 64 like bars, but rather you create something that you think that sounds cool and interesting, and then you just leave it at that. And if someone can transform that into something else,
That's
amazing.
where it is.
That's
Yeah. And I think that Kingsway, hey, shout out Frank Dukes, bro. Shout out to Frank Dukes. Like I think that Kingsway does a great job with
Mhm,
that. Cause it's just like these musical kind of sonic ideas, like these soundscapes, and
mhm.
people just they chop up and they transform and they just kind of go on their own little journeys and do whatever they want with it. And I feel like that's where the magic is. To where,
Yeah,
and I don't know, man. Like, shout out to Splice. Like, it ain't no hate like on Splice, but it's just kind of like
they have their own problems, but like they've made it so much easier. But
yeah,
kind of, oh my gosh. Oh, right. So initially we
yeah,
were talking about lo-fi hip hop because we were talking about like sampling and stuff like that.
yeah. Word.
Um, So reeling it way back. Oh my gosh.
My bad.
No, you're good. We're good. It's conversation. It's conversation. So,
Nice.
uh, the shot and setting. Just, just getting out of high school, still doing lo-fi hip hop.
Yeah.
College. At this point, I was I I was creating some of the most like progressing art in my life, but also ones that I would have to kind of like come to terms with later. What I mean by that is I was making progress in both avenues of lo-fi hip hop, which I loved, and Christian rap, which I loved, but
Mm.
I realized that it was difficult maintaining too. So at this time, during college, I was making lo-fi tapes, and I was actually like starting to get a little bit of traction. Like I remember, I made like a small, very very small tape, and I included some acapellas from Belief's quote unquote last album at that time. And
Wow.
he had reached
Wow.
out. It's like, dude, that's so awesome. And it's like, yeah, yeah. And he's like, yeah, send me some more beats. And I did, and they were all trash. And I'm pretty sure he was like, okay, bye. But
Oh my
um,
God.
and I was also like working on these small things and trying to get like an idea of how to make it sound like me, but also sound like you want to listen to it.
Word.
And then
Word.
I was starting to create out of college, like soon out of college, I was starting to create like hip hop stuff. And I had specifically, I remember making a project called Halos. This
Mm.
was about like a year or two out of college, and this was like a small EP that I made where I was just kind of just out, like all out. It's like, okay, this is CHH, this is Christian hip hop. I'm gonna do this, and it actually had gotten some traction. But it was very much so a back and forth. A year I'd really be doing well in lo-fi. Another year it'd be very well in CHH. And you can actually see the dynamic here. But the real big cutoff was COVID.
Oh man, they ruined. Oh God, go ahead.
COVID was a very interesting time. So to give you an idea, I was out of college. I had just gotten fired from my job right before Christmas. I was spending.
R.I.P.
I was spending that job sucked, but
dude.
but I was spending time with my girlfriend, the soon to be wife, at her parents' crib, and I was trying to kind of get a handle on things.
Yeah.
And around that time, I had just dropped I didn't had just dropped. I was like, okay, you know what? I just did the CHH stuff. I don't know. It's whatever. I'm currently without a job, and all I can think of is, well, I'm not gonna starve because I still live with my mom. So why not just crank out a whole bunch of lo-fi and see what happens? And so I did that. I released an album called Quarantape. Little like, because everyone had a quarantine themed project at that time.
Yeah, you.
Christmas, like everyone had COVID bars.
Word.
But it was at the end. I want to say at the end of 2019. After like experimenting, praise God above that. I was able to get some stimmy checks.
Hey, yes sir. Hey, they hit.
If it wasn't for the stimulus, I would have to go back to working a job and doing music.
Shout out to they came in clutch, bro. They really did came in clutch.
And not to say that I wouldn't be able to work a job and make music, but when you're pulled apart in two different directions by a financial and draining aspect, and then also working on music, it's 50-50,
It's hard, yeah.
So around that time, I decided to like really hit TikTok hard, and I decided to do some video game stuff to test things out, while also working on my own thing. And then Continue happened. And Continue was,
dude, that's the one with the controller as the art, right?
That one is the controller. No, that one is with just like me, just like floating in air.
Word. Okay.
The Continue was a kind of playoff of a Super Mario World, like I think 3-bar mode, and that went viral, and that kind of began my TikTok sort of career. Now, that was an insane and awesome time, because at this point, I had realized there's traction. People are connecting with this. I can be funny on this platform, and I can make lo-fi that I already know how to make pretty straightforward, on top of also being able to make it about video games, which is very easy. And I did that for about 2 to 3 years. I was just dropping lo-fi covers, Zelda, Mario, Kingdom Hearts. I was doing even like a few things with like Steven Universe and Evangelion. And then I dropped an album, and it was the first time where I was perceiving like I think I'm able to live off of this. And I feel like God was like really just blessing in this regard. Now, there was a caveat. Because I was just doing lo-fi hip hop at that time, I was not going back and forth with that in CHH. I was just doing lo-fi, and I tried, and I felt like I just wasn't able to do it. And I was like, I'm just probably a little rusty. I'll come back to it later. And it was like that for years, up until like 2023. I was not able to write whatsoever. And I was and the not to say the well was dry, but like things were slowing down. And I was kind of sitting there with myself, kind of convicted, because if we go all the way back to 2015, that's where I was like on fire for God. And I was like, this is going to be my ministry. And now here I am making memes and video game covers. And like there's some great deals lining up, but something's amiss. And I was more so worried about losing certain deals than losing traction and losing like track of the fact of what brought me here. And I had to stop. And I said, there's something's wrong. And so I meditated on it for like a couple of weeks, I think. A couple of days, couple of weeks. I don't remember the exact time, but there was this moment where I was praying to God, and my wife can attest to this. It felt like there was something that rushed over me, and I felt like something unlocked. And I had a revelation where God wasn't going to allow me to create a plan that benefited how I wanted it, instead of following his and being faithful in it. I was trying to do what I wanted and then call it God's plan.
When it really was just, ooh, yeah, that's a bar.
I was creating my own itinerary, and God wasn't happy, because if you serve two masters, you're gonna love one or hate the other, you know?
Yeah.
And so I realized at that moment that he was not going to allow me to write. He wasn't allowing me to be inspired to write. I was not allowed that. I had to come in full obedience, because this was just like a very much so a like this comes down to the heart. Like you can't have your heart in two places. And so I really just sort of just meditated on that, and I said, you know what? I think I need to stop. So I made the decision to just stop lo-fi hip hop and just or at least I initially said I'm gonna stop lo-fi music and covers, like video game covers, period. But I had to come to terms like, nah, it's gotta be all of it. And I said, all right, we're gonna walk in full obedience and then just start going forward. This was around the end of like 2023. And around that time, I'm still listening to CHH constantly. Like I'm listening to like Dilly, What Up RG, like everyone from like everyone big to small. Like I'm like cycling through their this discographies for like, constantly. And then this dude came up on my TikTok page, and I'm not sure what exactly kind of like made the algorithm like work in this way, but I was like, oh shoot, this is like a Christian dude. And I was in the music that he was making. It's like, yo, this is reminding me a lot of the stuff that like I used to listen to, or like the underground stuff that I'm listening to. And I'm like, I'm loving it. Like,
do you know who it was?
It was, yeah. So it was like this almost Memphis sounding thing, underground type of thing. It's this dude named Afterthought.
Yes, sir.
And
hey, shout out Afterthought. Yes, sir.
And I've explained this to him myself, but it was that moment that really inspired me, where I said, like, this dude is doing something for God in a way where I don't feel like I needed to conform to a way that is like the popular limelight way. And he's just going all out for it. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling inspired. Let me drop let me see if I can let me see if I could just do something that's just straight me, straight inspired and stuff like that. And then I started releasing leaks for Fear No Evil.
Oh my God. Yes, sir. Here we go.
It was like that moment back in 2019, except it wasn't just I'm popping, but it's just like God affirming through the obedience.
Wow, man. That's wow.
And I knew he was trying to like get it through my thick skull. It's like, no, this is it.
Like, just show you, yeah, bro. Like, now we got to talk about Afterthought for a
Yeah,
little bit. 'Cause, dude,
we will, but I just
yeah,
with the thing is that he was trying to get through my thick skull because not only did it catch traction, right,
right.
but people in the videos were like commenting like, "Yo, you need to work with Afterthought," and I was able to get in contact with him, and we made that connection.
Wow.
And I it just really felt like God was just like, I'm going to take care of you. You need to,
Mhm.
like, you're not the same guy that was kind of making lamish raps. Like you have had plenty of time to like hone your skill, but more importantly, like my inspiration will carry you. So you need to
Wow.
go forward in this, and you need to like you can't muddy the water with anything. It's just got to be me, dude. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And so fear no evil, zoo,
Man.
even stuff with like Uchiha, and I started like even teasing and showing stuff that I was doing in the past years, and people were just like, "Where was this?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Man,
Yeah.
the
Like, it's so funny too because, like, uh, I think it is. I think it's Fear No Evil, right? Like, if you if you go on your, I don't even know if you know this, but if you go on your uh on the video,
mhm."
it's this comment, bro. It is it says, "We making it out of hell with this one." It's so crazy, bro.
It,
Like,
I I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still a lot of this is still kind of raw and kind of not to say new to me because I've if we're talking like scholarly or just like understanding doctrine or practice, I'm not saying that like I'm like A plus grade, but I understand what I understand my God. I understand like I
yeah,
keep trying to make sure I understand what's right and keep myself humble. But
right.
the I, right now it's very much so is like I'm still trying to get a grasp of like the voice that I have, the mission that I'm called
Mm,
to. But one thing that became very certain very immediately was that there is a lot of people that despite they're not being counterculture anymore. Everyone that's a weirdo or like a normie, they can live in the same space now. Despite that, there are still plenty of Christians or people that are hurting that are overlooked, and that's how you know like culture works. There's going to be oversights or people that are struggling, and
yes.
it just like kind of wrenched at my heart where I was me reading. It's like, dude, this is the stuff I need because I'm trying to pull away from, you know, like certain artists that are not encouraging me to walk on this new path that I've been called to. And so
Mm,
despite not having a perfect grasp on like, you know, uh my calling, like still kind of like learning and understanding, or just like not even having a very polished testimony, to be frankly honest with you, because it's I'm uh, very much so I don't have like a good script, is what I'm saying. Um, I know that I got to keep going forward with the voice that I got to make something beautiful. With
yeah.
the inspiration that I got, because there are people like me out there, and there's, I guess technically, there's more people out there like me than I expected. Um,
No, and it's great because no,
mm,
and you're right because and that's pretty much the reason why I hit you up because I feel as though and it's not even I feel but like and even in that it's just worse you and I feel like you and I are just so similar where it's not like I don't know. It like it is counterculture, but it's also just like it's just alternative.
yeah.
It's alternative uh I don't know how to even I don't even know how to describe it, but I what I know is that like you definitely have your own sound and like Zoo and Fear No Evil. Bro, like I was so excited. And to take it back to like kind of the beginning, like what I was saying, like
Mhm,
when I seen that on TikTok, like I immediately hit my friend and I was just like, bro, this guy, he's doing it.
mhm,
Like he's doing he's just like us.
mhm.
Like I told him about you, and I was like, "This guy is just like us. Like we gotta get in contact with him to just chop it up and get to know him because
And
he's just like us." Go ahead.
And bro, what happened to you happened to me, because if Afterthought wasn't out here trying to proclaim God and use the voice that he got, where would have
Yeah,
I been? Where would I have been? So
man.
it's a constant passing of the torch, and I feel like that's so necessary,
It
because
is.
it's with culture has become very homogenous, and this isn't like me trying to like call out nothing, like this is just how it is. So with all that, like things like the feeds are more and more packed full. People are more and more just like getting blasted with information and content. So honestly, we do need to kind of go out there and not like just try to replicate what other Christians are doing on social media, but just display this,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's these simple acts of faith and obedience to God that like so many people can be like reached out to, and
Man.
and when I tell you, man, that it's not by like, I'm not gonna lie, I like what I make, I think it's dope, but I don't think it's just that dopeness that's
It's
like,
not.
it
It's not, dude.
it's
It's
God
the
speaking to whoever needs it through this platform, because it allows a moment of like, uh not like sympathy, but like camaraderie, because there's a confirmation that there are your struggle is not just to you. There are other
no.
people that have walked certain like paths that you have walked, or have struggled in the same ways, or have and been inspired by certain things that
Mm,
can definitely confirm, encourage, and like help be a voice with God to reach you, So
bro. Nah, that's true, man. Like your background, coming from the 2012, 2011 SoundCloud stuff, and then doing this, like the funk thing,
mhm,
uh the Memphis stuff, like it resonates with me like so heavy, because
mhm,
I just I don't feel like it's the word is just, it's necessary. Like it's necessary what you're doing, and even like with Afterthought, and I feel like it's a new lane that will
mhm,
like be paved. Like
mhm,
that's the new underground sound. It's like this in between. Like me and my friend, we're doing it. Like we're because it's CHH, right? And then it's like the quote unquote, I guess, like secular underground. But what about the in between?
mhm,
Like what about the space? What about the space in between for the people who might have been fans of Bones back then, but now are serving Christ
mhm,
and still like want that raw, real truth, like that raw, real energy? Like where do they go? And I feel
mhm,
like uh, folk like you, artists like you, and Afterthought,
mhm,
and yeah, y'all are doing something. Y'all are doing that. Y'all are
mhm.
creating that space. Y'all are creating that community. So keep going, for
Yeah.
real.
Well, and I'll say this much: it's not just the fact that it's a certain sound or um like genre sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that we tend to like overthink, make it complicated, is um yes, there is very much so a majority in certain communities, cultures, music, CHH. I get that, but the biggest thing that I feel like it's not just a pointing and say that doesn't reach to me. It's there, since we're all called, as Christians, we're all called to be voices and be lights. it
Mm,
it is a reminder where we can't just telephone what is like currently trending, but
yeah.
rather just be like, be
Just
the
be
voice that
obedient.
we've been called to be,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's not like two or three solutions that we should fit in terms of like how to reach people,
Mhm.
biblically, the body of Christ is not just the hands, the feet, the head, the elbows, whatever. The body of Christ is very complicated. There's many different pieces to it, and so
Yeah.
it's just being these being the ones that we've called to be, and just embracing that, and going forward in that, discipling, reaching out, and,
Mhm.
and inspiring, just communicating, taking the time, do this. That is
Mhm.
more important, because we can oftentimes get lost. I was talking to my pastor about this. We'll focus too much on trying to redeem things for
Mm.
Christ, rather
Mm.
than uh uh, well, no, we'll be too busy trying to redeem things for Christ, just so that we can have that kind of pastiche, that kind of outwardly display, but what are we doing
Oh,
if that's all that we're doing?
wow.
Just for what? Just so that we can have a safe version, or just bring that into the
Wow.
sphere? That's not the point. That's not the point. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, nah, yeah, definitely, because, bro, nah, you just hit it, bro. You gotta give me a second, because because what you just said at the end, like safe, like, and again, like, no, it's no disrespect to a lot of the CHH artists or what they've been doing, but
Mhm,
I will say, like, I have seen that recently, where it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's why I don't know. It's like, why are we trying to be safe?
mhm,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we serve like the God of the universe. Like, let's truly create uh what he's trying to show us. Like, let's truly be a vessel for like his spirit, so that we it could just be completely original. And not only that, but touch people's hearts, like, that needs to be touched, instead of just being like, oh well, I'm gonna be like a city girl.
mhm,
Like a Christian, like, city girl. Or, I maybe I should just like settle and do like the Christian, like, remixes. You know
mhm.
what I'm saying? And I don't, again, like, a lot of people, a lot of artists in CHH, it's all for fun. Like, a lot of them do it for fun, and like,
Mhm,
I get it, because it's like, bro, you can have fun, like, you know what I'm saying. But
mhm.
I do feel as though it does come a point where it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, my whole thing is that, um, we're not trying to just homogenize and bring other cultures to make our culture, look good. I
Mm,
think I think Christ's culture should be something that stands, apart. To be holy is to be set apart, you know?
mm,
And we should encourage that. So when people are bringing influences, and I have to answer this one daily, when we're bringing influences and sounds, and stuff like that, we have to understand where we are, uh inspired and influenced, versus how are we going to process this and then allow it to grow this community.
mm.
Are we adding all the different colors on the spectrum, and then just pouring it into one bucket to make it muddy? Or are we trying to understand how this contrasts and make a very vibrant, stunning paint that is going to be just kind of displayed on the wall? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 dude. Like, so I guess, like, on the subject of just kind of like being set apart, and Christ culture, how do you feel about, do you ever have people like, okay, so when Zoo and Fear No Evil came out, or have you ever had people just be like, yo, like, your music isn't like Christian enough, like,
Of
or
course.
this isn't Christian?
Yeah, of course. And I understand that. I I understand why folks will kind of look at what I'm doing and say this isn't Christian music, because there is a certain framework that's obviously very popular. There's this expectation in terms of, how certain things should work. Now, I will clarify this by saying that, the body of Christ should be checking the body of Christ. So
Yeah.
it shouldn't be outsiders, it shouldn't just be outsiders looking at it's like, yo, you're doing this wrong. The people that in your circle should be the ones that are, calling out if something isn't adding up. But with that being said, it's there we tend to get lost in the weeds when it comes to what we're doing, with Christian music. Because
Mm,
there if we only identify Christian music as worship music or the standard stuff that we've heard, the past couple of decades, where does that leave us? Where does that leave people that are saved that do not fit into column A or column B? Now, people
yeah.
might say that muddies. Again, I like using the word, the term "mudding the water." People might say that this kind of like cheapens Christian music. To that, I say, then what of the Book of Esther?
Man, oh, dude.
That did not like specifically say the word God. Do we have to do that then? Is the Book of Esther also not a book of the Bible?
Well, and two, also to add to your point, we can even take it back to the Psalms, where it's
Mhm.
not just David, but it was a guy named Asaph or
Yeah.
Asaph, like where and I guess to bridge this point together, it was this. I don't know if you've ever heard of this band. They're called like Loud Harp,
Mhm.
and they're kind of like an older band, and
Mhm.
I don't know if I would call them like, I guess I can say they're a worship band, maybe not, but they made this album called Asaph, and they talk about how they read into the history of Asaph and who he was, and he was also like a music director,
Mhm.
in worship back then in biblical times, and they would talk about how uh, the music that he was the head of was very much very kind of menacing sounding and very broody and kind of
Mhm.
dark and kind of moody. And yeah, it's interesting that you bring up, like kind of the standard and the sound right now that's
Mhm.
going on. Well, and that's been going on in like CCM, the kind of like the super overproduced kind of rock, a rock arena rock
Mhm.
kind of thing, in contrast to like you said, uh stuff like the Book of Esther and like the Book of Asaph. You're
Mhm.
you're right, dude. It's like, okay, why why does that have to be the standard?
Yeah. I I believe in a God that does not only just display beauty and his will and knowledge and love and grace blatantly, but also in subtlety as well.
Ooh,
There's
yes. Ooh.
there is plenty of things in the Bible that you have to dig deeper and deeper to understand, not just to get caught up on my minute details or speculations, but rather to understand the 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 complexity of things. Because at the end of the day, if we try to do is simplify what is Christian music and what isn't Christian music, if why are we not embracing complex natures that that God also embraces, because we are not simple beings.
No, we're not. And that pretty much like when we compartmentalize, oh, this is Christian music, this isn't Christian music because it ain't like my preferred sound, or this ain't how it was back then. That inevitably opens the door to pride and legalism.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think. I almost lost where I was going with this.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, and okay, that's where I was going with it. And it's like, when we I don't know, it's like, dude, in the scripture it talks about uh becoming all things to men and
Mhm.
finding common ground. So I think that, when we kind of box what Christian music is or what Christian music can be or isn't. When we box it in, we can. It's very. I don't know, bro. Like it's super easy to cut ourselves off from the common man and
Yeah.
people outside of the faith and end up just basically being disobedient.
Yeah. And it also creates a very toxic dynamic of, like you're saying, with legalism and like clarification, because you're going to have folks that are going to like, you can't look me in the eyes and say, just because of your classification of what is Christian music, what is CHH, what is it and what isn't, that you can't look at me. It's like, oh, that new Church Clothes record is not Christian music. But then because of what they're proclaiming, you say that Donda is?
Dude. Yeah,
And I'm
and it's
not,
like
and no hate to either party. No hate to
right.
either party. But it's, we need to stop. Like, there obviously is certain things that we should take seriously in terms of like how we praise God, like what is a good way of praising God and what isn't a good
Yeah,
way of
like
praising
theology, you know what I'm saying? Like
God.
uh to tell you the truth, I really don't listen to a lot of CCM
Mhm,
nowadays just because I'm not a fan of a lot of the theology
mhm,
and the lyrical content. Um I don't really like the super overproduced
mhm,
stuff and not to say that like it's all like that, but yeah, dude, you're right. It's like what qualifies a song uh to be Christian? What does it mean? Like, is
mhm,
it just because you know, you might say in your rap song,
mhm,
you could say Jesus 70 times. Like, does that
mhm,
mean that it's Christian? You
mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like, or, uh, ah, yeah, you know?
It's, I think we always like asking the wrong questions, and then we get caught on them. Um, because, at the end of the day, I think the question, it shouldn't be, and I don't want to get too caught up on in the discussion, but I will say this: we always ask what is and what isn't Christian music, when the fact is that is what the artists should be proclaiming to us. And so we have to
Yeah.
ask ourselves then, what is good and what is bad Christian
Mm,
music, in terms of like, is this being served for God or for his people and encouraging, or is this like, is this fueling, or is this good for the listeners, those that are followers or that need to be inspired or called to God?
mm,
Or is it not doing the right thing? And the crazy part about all of this is that at the end of the day, God still uses both.
mm,
That's the crazy part, because
mm,
what whether it's bad or good in the universe, God will still use it to those who are called and believe and are according to his purpose. And even the disciples said, I think it's probably Paul was saying, there's just like some people preach from the wrong place.
mm.
Either way, the God's name is still being preached, and that is good. Not to condone
Wow.
preaching it for the wrong reasons, but if God's name is still being preached, that is something to be grateful for. And
Yeah.
God still uses that. Um, so it's crazy, and I do share your sentiment. I've actually rediscovered my love for classic gospel before, like
Dude,
recently,
yes,
not
sir.
like, like talking wine-ins and stuff like that. Like, I'm very happy that, and that's thanks to my wife, who's been very encouraging with that. Shout out to my baby. But
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Mm,
man, it's when it comes to people saying that it's not Christian enough, I don't hold any disdain. I just know that this is a problem that will probably stay constant. But
oh man, and
I Mhm.
go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say that, it's a problem that's gonna stay constant, but ultimately, I know I'm supposed to be patient with it, and I
Yeah.
know that for those that are saying that, it's typically a pretty quick uh signifier that maybe it's not for them. But
Mm,
for those that it is for, I typically see that a little quicker, at least to me, you know?
mm, yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely, you know, like stuff like this, it definitely can, it's definitely, it can bleed into like a deeper discussion about like the secular sacred divide, but that's a whole different thing, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole different thing, and I have like my gripes about that, and it is kind of disheartening to know that a lot of this these problems and this tension, it'll just like continue. But like
Mhm.
the only thing that we can do, bro, is just uh continue to strive for the heart of the Father and continue to be who he's called us to be in the midst of all this, instead of just being, because just so caught up, because that's like, I struggle with that a lot. I struggle a lot with just distracted, like being so distracted with
Yeah.
what he's doing and what they might not be doing, or what I think I should be doing in comparison to them. And it's like, no, not at all.
Yeah, man.
Man, man. Bro, no, such a good discussion, bro. Okay, so what else did I want to ask you? We got to talk about the video game sample. I think it's in Fear No Evil.
Uh, wait,
Because,
there's a
bro,
video game sample? Oh, there
yeah,
is. Oh, shoot. No, you're right. You're right.
yeah,
You're right. You're right. You're right.
we got to, because it's comments in the YouTube video about it. Everybody's like, bro, the I think his name is the
Joshua
Joshua Graham.
Graham.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody was like, bro, the sample. So yeah, you got to get me hip to that. We got to talk about that.
Yeah. So, first of all, I love the Fallout series. It's a very personal fave. Fallout New Vegas, I spent hundreds of hours in. And the one of the things about video game culture is that when it comes to having people that are Christian figures that are kind of like a good representation, or at least a human representation, it's more difficult to find. I can't think of many, but one that always stood out was someone that was Joshua Graham,
Mm,
who I don't want to give too many spoilers, because I encourage people that if they love Fallout and they have not played that DLC, or they don't know much about it, Joshua Graham is a what I think a very good written example of a Christian character that has a
mm,
slew of very convicted and believable and um, just a pretty well grounded dialogue. He's one of those folks, like we Christians tend to gravitate to very interesting figures in terms of like, who we like in like fiction spaces. Um,
mm.
I love. I listen. Berserk is amazing, but the thing about Berserk is, and no hate, no hate. Okay, I'm Berserk does not have a lot of Christian ideals. There's great contrast, and there's great like the displays of just like humanity, which is beautiful. Um, but like, we often go to very interesting characters like Berserk, or oh gosh, I'm blanking so bad right now. Uh,
Mm,
there's a lot of folk that just like we don't have a lot of characters that resonate from the same place that we do, you know?
mm,
And
mm,
not to say you can't resonate or enjoy characters in fiction and anime or video games that are not from your space. Um, but with me personally, I take a very serious approach to that, because it's on the surface that can be misconstruing to certain people. If there's certain elements that I know that I can take an effort to sort of be a better guide with, sure,
mm,
and
mm,
not, and because I say that knowing that I work out of an influence of a genre that can also be misconstrued. So there's
mm,
with certain elements that I know that I'm not trying to lead people astray or whatever, I try to be a little more, on top of it. Though I love
Word.
Berserk. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna
Word. Nah,
RIP the creator, man. What a crazy way.
man. Nah, word. Like I never really got too much into anime as a jit. I know
Mhm.
that I used to watch Dragon Ball Z a lot. Well, here I'll say this. In terms of video games, right? Like I used to play I was on Tenkaichi and Tenkaichi 3 and
Tenkaichi
2
is amazing.
heavy, bro. Those I rock with those games heavy. Like that's like straight nostalgia.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think
The new
like,
one's gonna be lit.
oh, are they coming out with a new one? Word.
Yes,
Word.
yes, and it has everyone.
Oh my gosh, bro. So speaking of speaking of fighting games and stuff, like you gotta be we hey, whenever we link up, bro, it's 1v1 on Smash Brothers for sure. We got to.
Oh gosh.
Cause
See, the thing with Smash Bros, bro, is that I'm good, but I'm good against people that don't play Smash Brothers. But
yo,
as soon as dudes be like, oh gosh, spiking, as soon as we start talking about spiking, it's like,
oh
I'm out.
man.
I'm
Dude,
out.
yeah,
I'm
like
good.
I no word, like I'm not even dude, like when I was legit, bro, I would go on because I thought I was raw, right? Like I thought I was mad good, like I thought I was nice. But then I started going on to game battles. I don't know if you remember game battles,
Mm,
but game battles was it was a platform where you get online and you would literally just you would face people from like all around the world. And dude, these guys were like scientists.
mm.
Like it was like it was like I don't even remember like some of the combos, like the glitch. You know how you
The
said
infinites and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, it was you talked about spiking. Uh it was another I think that's what it was. It was just called spiking. They would do like so much of that and I was
Wave
totally
dashing and stuff like that.
yeah, wave. Yeah, that's what it is. You hit it. Yeah, it's called wave dashing. Bro, they would just come out the cut, wave dashing, spiking. I was no match. Like, so I eventually just quit. Like, I was like, bro,
Yeah.
these these dudes they do this for a living. Like,
Yeah.
they wake up and this is their life. I can't do this.
Yeah, it's type of like when it comes to video games, I love them and I play them so much. But there's the only ones that I got like I'm not even want to say competitively, just got like serious into as of late. I don't even play it much anymore, but Apex was the last one that I was really big into. Um,
Mm,
the video game wise though, I'll be playing, bro. I've been going through like the Yakuza games, Zelda.
man,
If we're
word.
talking like favorites, like I've been crazy about Final Fantasy, Dragon
Final
Quest.
Fantasy, like
Uh,
Silent Hill is like my favorite. I
Silent Hill
love
is good. I never got too big into it, but I was big into Resident Evil. Um,
man.
right now I'm playing a lot of Helldivers and
Yes, sir.
uh playing through the new Yakuza right now. I'm actually catching up on a whole bunch of stuff because I have a huge my catalog of games that I'm behind on. Because
Uh,
I'm also into indie as well. So like there's so many games.
like
So bad.
independent game. So like, do you think that? What are your thoughts about like super kind of like 4K like high graphic versus like the low poly? Like, do you have like a preference? Because that's like I don't know if you've seen it, like if you're hip, but like
Mm.
that's like a trend right now. Like
Yeah.
people are making stuff in like low poly graphics.
I mean like this trend's basically like what we used to deal with back in the mid to late tens where everyone was doing stuff in like a 16-bit sort of style.
Yeah,
But my whole philosophy is like as long as the art style and the direction is good, I'm not bugged by it. I will take a well designed and thought out like art design from something that is like indie or like low poly or even very basic versus something that's high quality 4K. And the same goes the other way too, you know?
mm,
I mean
mm.
like in gaming spheres, we've always had this discussion because like back when gaming was really getting to like a big boom in like quality, I'm talking like Battlefield 3 or the Gears of War stuff, or
Yeah.
back when MGS4 happened, they were like technically great looking, but it was rather the art style had a crazy dumb brown or gray filter over it,
Mm.
or the gameplay was just kind of mid.
Like, yeah, kind of mid.
Sorry.
What?
But yeah, but no, it's very nostalgic. Like I have
Yeah.
some of my my favorite games of all time do like an old like a low poly style, or you know, I think certain games hold up even better nowadays than when they first came out. Like one of my my childhood favorite games back in the day was a cell shaded anime esque RPG called Dark Cloud 2 on PS2, and
Word.
that one was, oh gosh, I love that one to death. And
Man.
even like stuff like the Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, you know, stuff like, bro, we could talk for hours in terms of just like how things have held up. I enjoy all of it, you know. I think all of
Yeah.
them deserve a place, and you can do a lot of things with the
Yeah.
various directions.
Do you think that what are your thoughts about I'm trying to think, like, because I've talked to like some gamers and casually, like at work and maybe just online, and people talk about how like they like it's a nostalgia about, or not even just nostalgia, or they're kind of pissed off about how the way just kind of like gaming is right now, where it's like kind of like pay to play. Like you don't actually ever
Yeah,
have the game because you just have to continue on like paying and like
yeah,
subscribing and getting all these you know, certain items or unlock certain levels within the game, whereas like in contrast 20 years ago, uh you could just go to Blockbuster and have the game. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I'm actually very much so a proponent against games as a service where you don't even own a game, and at any moment the company could just say, "Hey, this game's shutting down," and they'll take it offline, and you can't even play the game. Even if it was like a single player experience, you can't play it anymore because it relied on their servers. I'm
Yeah.
actually there's a gentleman named Ross Scott. He's on YouTube, and oh gosh, he was very big in the machinima days, and he does like great video game reviews and like expos on certain things. But right now he's actually doing a huge suit plan going on across the world because Ubisoft is taking down the server for their game The Crew, which means
Mm.
millions of people that bought the game will no longer be able to play it.
Oh my
uh,
dude. Wow.
And like,
Wow.
and this is not even the first game that this has happened to, bro. Because not counting MMOs, because those kind of those shouldn't be exempt from this, but those are, you kind of know what you're getting into. But like, there's certain games out there that you just cannot play anymore. Period. Uh, that
Yeah.
should have not. Period. Been taking off. Um, I'm genuinely blanking, but like when you have like all these new games coming out, it's just like they just keep getting taken down, taken down, taken down. And it was bound to happen where like a big one, you know, like this is gonna happen to it. Like people love like if your favorite game relies on a central server, it's on
Yeah.
it's a ticking time bomb. If you liked the
Yeah.
division, you better pray that they keep the servers up. You better play the games that you like now. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
it it's very sad. But, no,
Yeah.
I'm not so bugged about, like, uh, games can have microtransactions as long as the core game can be enjoyed and played without needing to do that, and there's, like, and the expected grind for certain things is fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh but I will say, it does make me a little more choosy in terms of like which games I start picking up. Like I was wary of Helldivers because I have too many. I have too many games. Too many games, and it's
Uh,
another one of these
yeah.
like it's a game with good combat, but it demands a constant rotation for you to be constantly playing, and you can't even play. You can't play a session less than 20 minutes.
Man,
Or
yeah, that's
and
that's corny.
and if you get into something like say you have to do like 2 or 3 missions stacked together because you have to, that can
Yeah.
take about like an hour and a half.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's it's like I said, like when we were having a conversation earlier, it's just like I had to like be very aware of my time. I don't have TikTok. I'm
No.
trying to mandate YouTube. It's just like you gotta. There's too many things in this world to enjoy that it's you
Yeah.
you can't cheapen the experience. Did you know that like I think there was a study done where despite anime being made for decades upon decades, after I think was it 2012 or so, there's more anime that's been produced period 2012 to now versus 2012 and before that period.
Wow.
There's been more
No.
anime produced in the past 10 years than there has been before that 10 years.
Well, I
Period.
mean, it makes sense though. It makes sense because, going back to a little bit before when we talked about kind of this space where the nerds and kind of like the normies and kind of like the geeky kind of like alternative kids, like it's a space now, and so because of that, naturally it's a demand, you know what I'm saying, for more anime to be produced. So yeah, it makes total sense, and I
Mhm.
rock with it. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's just nuts, dude.
it's
But
crazy, crazy.
but yeah, video games.
Word. Let me see. Yeah, I don't want to take up like too much of your time. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know, because I'm curious. Like, I'm just curious about
Mhm.
like just your thoughts and like how you think. Because, bro, like I'm kind of like tweaking right now. Like, I'm talking to you. I thought like I thought you were just like so cool. Like from the minute I saw you, and I was just like, bro, it'd be dope to just kind of chop it up with him.
Nah,
So
bro, I'm lame. I'm lame as crap, bro. I don't know what you're
nah,
talking
no, no, no,
about.
no, no,
I'm
no. You're
nah, nah,
tweaking.
nah, 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 nah.
He was like, nah, bro, I'm lame. That's crazy.
Nah, bro.
Oh, shit.
I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, and I don't know, bro. I'm not trying to like gas you up or like make you like a like, because it's so weird when because people have done that to me, bro. Like, uh, people, people, and even in CHH, like when they would see me, they'd be like, bro. I'm talking to Caleb Forever, bro. Like back when my stage name was Caleb Forever, they'd be like, bro, ah, and I'd
Mm.
just be like, why don't stop, stop
Well,
doing that.
that's like that's the viral and like fame aspect of
Yeah,
life, you know. It's and it's I'll keep it a stack. There is there's an element to all of this that I feel like doesn't connect in my brain. Um
mm,
because when I take walks in my neighborhood. I hang out with people, you know. I'm not getting like cited and in public or nothing because
right.
internet, you know, buzz, it's its own kind of creature.
Yeah,
But you know, people folks have like come up to me and it's like, "Hey, you know, you kind of are popping." It's like, "No, no, I'm just here." And then, you
yeah,
know, stats came through and, you know, the like, you know, just you know, stream revenue and stuff like that. It's like
yeah.
I guess a few people know of me.
I mean,
Uh,
because it is interesting though, because it's like you said, like the internet, people will see numbers, and numbers, unfortunately, equal clout and status, and well, I'm gonna talk to you because you're cooler now. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like,
it's like this person is worth more because they have
yeah,
like a 6-digit number or 5-digit number next to their name.
yeah. So even with you, bro, like I will keep it G with you, bro. Like when I saw that you had like 260K on IG, and then when I was like, I'm not even finna email this dude because why would he talk to me? Like, why would he take his time? Because I was like, bro, like to me, that's crazy. Because I was like, oh, he's like low key like a celebrity. But again, maybe that's just me, like doing that, being like, oh, well, because of his IG followers, that means he's like more up in quote unquote internet society.
I I my with the whole thing is it's that there's sort of like this um oh man, it's like almost like a caste system of like, oh, you need to reach this so you can, finally message this person and this person. And I'll keep
Yeah,
it honestly, dude. I genuinely really try not to look and focus on any of that because some of the
yeah,
realest dudes, uh, and not saying that like this is something they flaunt or something that like I always try to perceive, but like some of the most like well connected, influential, like insanely like talented dudes that I know, you would not know them. They are camouflage. They are gillied up online because they don't.
mm,
They're not like performing or like trying to flaunt or show it off. And there are, and like
mm,
not to say that uh there isn't merit to seeing people that have traction online. Um, I,
right.
but uh, platform is such a deceiving thing, dude, because it alters your perception on who's worth talking to.
Yeah.
And that's something I've really tried to like kind of crack down on myself personally, where it's like
Mm.
the I thought to myself a few days ago, it's like, wouldn't it be nice if Instagram just took away the counter? Like you could not see anything. Like you can't see
Oh
how
man.
many people they're
What?
following. You can't see how many people follow them. And I feel like people would hate that. I
No,
and,
well, yeah.
and to a
People wouldn't
degree,
know
I
what to
would hate
do.
that
People
because
wouldn't know what to do, and people wouldn't know how to think.
they wouldn't know. I like people and myself included wouldn't be like, okay, well, how do I know they're important?
No, whoa, my yo, that
Yeah, and that's
yo,
that's the that's the that's the fact. Listen, let's all be let's
let's
take it.
let's keep it G. If I had a bomb like a flex bomb, I would drop it right now because that was yo. What?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's that's just the fact of it, you know?
It's true,
So
dude. True.
when I generally try not to think about it because people come and go. If people come and
Yeah.
go, people stop paying attention. People, it's just numbers because at the end of the day, like the follower count, it's really just this counter of people that have seen me, and there's millions of people that have seen me walk on the street, that have driven
Yeah.
past them. Like
It
this is
really doesn't matter, like in the grand scheme of things. Like it really doesn't add no value intrinsically to us as people.
Now, with that being said, am I grateful for every single person? Heck freaking yeah, because it's thanks to folks that have followed me
Yeah,
that
yeah,
and that sort of like have shared, liked, commented, like it's it really helps, kind of push me forward a little more, So like
yeah,
when I get those comments or those like DMs and messages, it warms my heart. And
yeah.
I am grateful for every single person, but I try to just look at them as people and not number counts.
Not numbers and not a means to an end or like some sort of pseudo like uh connection to like fame. And like speaking of fame, like do you think especially in light of what's going on just in culture right now, like do you think fame uh can ever be like 100% pure and healthy and like used for God's glory, or do you think that uh people will fall inevitably?
Oh boy. Uh Dang. So I mean, let me kind of put it like this. God is already famous.
Right.
And I feel like uh when it comes I think fame, low key, bro, you have to look at fame by the definition.
Yeah,
Fame
that's
is
what I'm asking.
it's like it's to
By
be
definition.
it's to be known. But
Yeah.
with God, he doesn't just want to be known, he wants to be received, you know?
Oh,
So
bro.
and so are I have to ask myself and others, are we trying to make him the popular thing? Or are we trying to make him like the godly thing, the holy thing? Like, is he going to be is he not just going to be perceived by people? Is he going to be received? Because plenty of scholars
Oh
and
my God.
atheists and Satanists and people know who God is, but they
I wish
choose to not receive him.
I wish I had nitro right now because I would bam. I just gotta make some noise, like, because that was so, bro. Like, because that's what it is. Like, it doesn't matter. Well, I don't. No, I take that back. We
It,
love that God is known, but the truth is, like, we have to receive Him. That's true.
it's to be famous needs to explicitly be attached to being, like, heard. That's just how it is. And you
Yeah.
can't, but this is the thing, you can't be received on a large scale and not be famous, but you can be famous and not received.
Mm.
That's the thing. And that's the thing that we have to ask ourselves, because when there's people that are, you know, perceiving and chasing fame, you have to ask yourself, why?
Yeah.
Are you trying to be known? Or are you trying to make God to be known? And
Mm.
and more importantly, is God going to be known and received? Because this is key. You can be known and people can know that you're about God, but that's not the whole package.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
celebrities for decades have always said, I like to thank God for this.
Oh yeah, but you know what that is. It's like just to save face and to look the part and to appear,
The
uh have an appearance of godliness, but
Yeah.
like, deny its true power.
The Pharisees were saying God's name on the corners. And we all
Yeah.
know Jesus had some word from them. Now, not to say that you need to host a Bible study when you get a Grammy, but
No.
you have to, when you're about it, you gotta be about it. And you have to be about it even if it means that your name isn't getting attached to it either. And that's the biggest
Mm.
problem, because oftentimes when we receive the byproduct and the byproduct is good, we get more obsessed with the blessing than the blesser.
Ooh, bro, like, you're killing it right now. Like, glory to God. You're
But
no,
yo,
just these
glory, bro.
bombs.
Glory to him, bro. Because
You're,
no,
you're
but for real. And that's the hardest thing, because hip hop has grown to something that is very focused on the ego. And we get so obsessed with it, to the point
yeah.
where, and I'm fallen victim to this too, bro. Like, we get so obsessed with what God bestows upon us that we lose track of the fact that he's equipped us, not just so that we can be equipped, but that we can go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude. And like, just, yeah, pride is like baked into like the culture of hip hop. So much so that, like, uh folks will look at you strange if you're not in competition.
Mhm.
Like, people have even I've had I've just had that said that to me in the past sometimes.
Mhm.
Like, oh, what? Like, oh, are you really about it? Like, if
Yeah.
you're not in competition with, like, your fellow man. And it's like, dude, like, this transcends rap. This is about the heart condition. Like, no, I'm not in competition with you because uh I don't I don't have to be. I'm not. It's not about that. It's
It's
about love.
it would be better for you to only have reached 5 people and not have your name be known at all, but your ministry had reached a small group of people that,
Yeah.
you made God known to them, and they've received them, and they now are part of this family now. It is better for
Yep.
that than and make Jesus like known and famous to them, rather than you to be famous and have God's name be attached to you. But even though you have proclaimed the name, you have not asked to be equipped. You have not asked to go forward. You have not been going forward with it. And when you have fallen, people now bestow themselves to look at you and say, dang, I guess God didn't help that guy.
Yeah.
And to be careful here, I am not saying that that we are the reason why God is hated. God is hated for many reasons,
Yeah.
and he's mocked for many reasons. But it would have been better for you to just have reached those 5 people than try to be perceived by millions, and then they perceive that you didn't have God to begin with, and you were only playing the clown. It was just a mask.
Well, yeah, and dude, plus like to keep it G, it's much easier. Like work smarter, not harder. Like I would much rather be, I don't want to say no, I don't want to say assigned. No, that's not a good word, but it's like I would much rather be uh what is it? What am I trying to say? It's like I would much rather um influence 3 people than like 300 people. Because dude,
Disciple.
like that
You you'd
yeah,
rather
there it is.
disciple.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
because that's what we're called to be, bro. No one
yeah,
is exempt from being from like trying to teach or reach or inspire, disciple folks.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
dude. I mean, it's just easier, man. Like it's easier, and bro, 300 people. That's too much. That's too hard. I can't. We can't do it. I can't do it.
mhm.
Like we like because man is just we're too prideful. Like that, it's too much. We're gonna fall, and then it's just gonna be bad. And so just I don't know. Like it's more important to always just be faithful with the small. And then like uh if you're supposed to have more, then you'll have more. It's just
Mm.
about contentment.
Yeah, man. Well, the one caveat that I was talking to Afterthought about this. You can never say never me, because at the
Ooh,
end of the day, like we though we are transformed and we have the spirit, we are saved. That does not take out the human condition.
no.
We are free from these chains, but still we have to toil with them day in and day out. And as soon as we start saying "never me," we c- we can we convince ourselves that we are not that we convince ourselves that we are exempt from the struggle, or we're exempt from the fall that other people have done, but we're not going to do that. And then we lose track of
Yeah.
the fact that, okay, so what was the story of David? What was the story of Solomon? what,
So
what was the story of frick, like, Paul?
yeah, Saul, Paul. Yeah. Yep.
Like, are these not the guys? Was David and Solomon and Moses not people that we had looked up to in the Old Testament, that had physically perceived and saw and the miracles and crazier things that we're ever going is probably going to see in our lifetimes? And
Mm,
they fell off in some of the most unbeautiful ways. And then we have the gall to say, okay, but that's not going to happen to me.
er,
I'm
yeah,
here in some Israel right
yeah,
now.
and yeah, and no, I'm not gonna do this because of uh some weakness, like Moses. I think it was Moses. Like he had a stuttering problem, right?
Mhm.
And he was like, "Nah, like I can't do it." And the father was like, "No, but you're gonna do it, and you can do it."
I like what Marty said. He said, I gotta go like a Moses.
Ah,
Yeah. But
man.
yeah, dude, it's fame. You gotta be very careful, bro. Because I've been there. I've been there, dude. In 2023, I had the opportunity to go to like conventions to showcase like what I was doing. I
Yeah.
had a shout out to, I think DJ was it DJ Cutman, DJ Protoman, who runs Game Chops. I had the opportunity to work on a collaboration album, and he was very
Wow.
generous in reaching out with that. And thank you so much. I had all of that lined up, but that I wasn't trying to make God famous. I was trying to make me famous. And the last thing I want to be now is disobedient, and that's something
Right.
I have to tackle daily with like with the quickness, with the severity, because every day, if you don't renew it every day with that urgency and with that like passion, it gets hard, bro. It gets hard.
And it's like I love what you're saying right now, bro. It's so refreshing, especially to me personally right now, because yeah, dude, like I've been lacking in terms of just like reading the scriptures. Like, man, it's just like I love hearing like just it's an urgency when I hear you speak, bro, and it's really renewing my soul, bro. I love listening to this right now because
Hey,
it's
all
like
God, bro. All glory to Him, bro.
glory, bro, because that's what it is. It's the urgency to go. It's
Yeah,
the urgency to just be like, yo, I'm willing. I'm
yeah,
willing.
because we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. We don't know what's gonna happen like in 5 minutes. There was an earthquake around Philadelphia. I didn't know that was gonna happen. I couldn't have. That wasn't on my bingo board. I didn't know
Man.
Drake and Kendrick were gonna start beefing. That wasn't on my bingo board
No,
either.
yeah.
If I can't foretell the state of hip hop, the thing that I'm working in, how can I foretell what's gonna happen tomorrow? And how am I gonna like convince myself? Okay, I'll go harder for. I'll do more for God. I'll prove myself more for Him later. No.
Yeah. Because
Mhm.
what if later doesn't like happen?
Yeah.
What if we don't have later?
Ex Yeah, man, and, like, not to say that like, not not to say that you have to, like, work to be seen by God, because that's a Mary and Martha situation, but
Yeah.
I will say this, if we're called to go, we gotta go, bro. That's just
Yeah.
how it is, and we go abiding
Yeah.
with Him, we go in faith and obedience and on fire. That's just how it is, you know?
Yeah. Man, you done set a mouth, bro. This was so cool, bro. I thank you, bro. Thank you for first just responding, and it was a great conversation. It was just a great conversation, bro, and like just glory to God because I was nervous, bro. Like I was nervous, and I was like, man, like I never did like an interview before, but it's like my prayer as of late for a while now. It's like, Father, like let everything be natural. Like
Mhm,
I want everything that's from you and everything that I'm meant to do and how I'm meant to just be daily,
mhm,
just in like my identity in you. Like I want everything to just be so free flowing and just natural, like nothing to be forced. So
mm,
he definitely he he's in the midst right now, bro. Like
mhm.
this conversation, I didn't even have to really ask you anything
Nah,
as we
well,
talked about it.
bro, I'm so happy to hear that, and I'll say this. I'll say this, dude. Um, there, when it comes to how we perceive what we're supposed to be doing to God, we always want a roadmap. But the fact remains is we're already equipped. We're already
Oh,
we're all we, God. When we came out of the womb, God already knew how to start equipping us for what He wanted us to do. That was just,
mm,
and right now you already have tools that you're working with, tools that you there will be tools that you grow or uh, things that you will acquire. There's things that you will continue to move on through, but
mm,
the we need to go forward even when it feels like we don't want to,
mm,
you know?
mm.
And
Yeah.
it's in the confidence that God is already with us and he'll continue to be with us, you know? There are
Mm.
when we sharpen our blades daily through prayer, through reading the scriptures, and these are good things, but these aren't just these aren't elements that are going to say specifically you need to wake up at this hour and then talk to this person on the sidewalk on this block and this block. These are the supplemental and inspiring words that I'm going to feed you. I'm going to speak to you through scripture. You already have something on your heart, and I'm going to continue to put that on you. You have to go forward now, because if you wait for me to keep equipping you, you are not
Yeah.
going to start moving.
No, not at all. It's in parallel to like kind of the cliche, like, oh, like I'll start tomorrow, or it's like it's no perfect time. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, man.
Man, dude. So good, bro. So good. I appreciate you. Hey, let's stay up, bro. Like for real. Like let's keep in contact.
Of
Cause
course.
this was dope.
Of course, man. I don't burn bridges as soon as I meet someone.
Nah, word. I hope not. It's like nah, but nah, like
It's like I hope not. I'll see the diss track.
word, bro. Word. Hey, bro. Congrats, dude. Like, congrats. Glory to God, and I love what you're doing. I love just your art direction and your sound and I love it's dope. It's dope that you're married. Blessings to you and your wife. You know what I'm
Yes, she
saying?
is a blessing. Goodness.
I love your I love your heart for the Lord, bro. Most importantly, just keep going after his own heart, man. And yeah, dude. Yeah, we'll get up soon.
Yeah, bro. Heck yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, bro. I think she like made dinner, so I'm finna go. I'm about to go see what's up with that. But yeah, dude, if we don't talk soon, yeah, we'll get up, man. I appreciate you.
Of course.
Eluzai. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, man. It was nice talking with you. Um, yeah, it's great to kind of just be here. So yeah, man.
Absolutely, bro. All right, G. Be safe. Be
All right.
safe.
The same to you, man. God bless, bro. I'm a holla.
All right. Yes, sir.
Sir.